Hello, Ag learners. For today, we will be talking about the physiological phases and the physiological processes that is related to crop yield. So mahalaga na maintindihan natin itong physiological phases and processes related to crop yield para ma-optimize natin yung agricultural productivity. So for this particular lecture, mga ka-ag learners, we will be focusing on the physiological phases that crops undergo. And then ano yung mga major plant physiological plant processes that they undergo as well. And then we will be talking about crop yield. So first stop, let's talk about physiological phases. Actually, we have covered this on the previous lectures, mga kaag learners, but I will just be covering it for you again as a means of review and to make sure na nai-hammer down ko talaga yung idea na ito sa inyong memory. So saan nga ba nagsisimula ang physiological phase ng isang halaman? Of course, first and foremost, ang isang halaman ay nagsisimula sa kanyang germination phase. So what is germination? Yan yung sprouting ng ating seed. So lahat, mostly, ng halaman, lalo na kapag yan ay galing sa buto, yan yung beginning of a crop's life cycle. And ito yung pundasyon ng isang successful growth. Now, during this phase, ang isang seed na viable will absorb water. Ang tawag sa process na yon is imbibition. So when a seed absorbs water, getting ready for germination, we call that as imbibition. Now, after imbibition, syempre, yung seeds na to, it will absorb water, it will rehydrate yung kanyang stored nutrients and enzymes, then it will now become active. The next step, still in the germination phase, would be its metabolic reactivation or metabolic activation, kung saan yung mga enzymes, katulad ng amylase or yung mga stored starch, yung mga stored sugars, it will now fuel the cells of our germinating plant for cell division and elongation. Within this phase rin, nagkakaroon magsisimula na ring mag-emerge yung kanyang radical or yung kanyang embryonic roots. So that is your radical. And then followed by its embryonic shoots, which is the plumule. So yan na yung sprouting na part during the germination phase. So in summary, ang germination phase, nangyayari yan, yung seed, it will now absorb water. We call that as imbibition. Ma-activate yung mga storage, yung stored energy niya. And then from that stored energy, magsisimula ng mag-emerge yung radicals niya, or yung roots, yung magiging root ng halaman, and magsisimula na ring mag-emerge yung kanyang plumule, yung magiging shoots ng ating halaman. Another idea that is covered in the germination phase would be the idea of seed dormancy and seed quiescence. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng dalawang term na yan? Madalas, ini-interchange natin sila, but magkaiba actually yung ibig sabihin ng dormancy at seed quiescence. No, kapag sinabi nating seed dormancy, ito yung condition kung saan ang isang viable seed, hindi siya nagde-germinate kahit na favorable naman yung kanyang environment. So, ibig sabihin, meron namang enough water sa environment niya, enough oxygen, enough temperature, and enough sunlight. But for some reason, hindi pa rin nag-germinate yung seed. So, ang reason behind this is internal factor. So, yun yung seed dormancy. Okay yung environment, but internally, yung seed, yun yung may problema. Mayroong tinatawag na internal blockage. At ano-ano yung mga internal blockage na to? Number one internal blockage would be hormonal imbalances. So, maaaring it has something to do with the phytohormones. For example, maaaring sobrang taas yung level ng abscisic acid. Kapag sobrang taas yung level ng abscisic acid, kapag sobrang taas yung level ng abscisic acid, dinidelay niya yung germination ng ating seed. Now, in combination with high levels of abscisic acid, pwedeng high levels yung abscisic acid tapos masyadong mababa naman yung gibberellic acid. Kailangan kasi ng seed na mataas yung gibberellic acid niya for it to germinate. Another factor kung bakit nagiging dormant yung ating seed is because of physical barriers. Katulad na lamang kapag ang kanyang seed coat ay napakakapal. So kapag sobrang kapal ng seed coat ng ating seed, that would also yield the seed to be dormant. And another reason would be some physiological mechanisms wherein possibly yung embryo ay immature pa lamang or may mga chemical inhibitors yung halaman katulad ng abscisic acid that do not allow the seeds to germinate. And what are the requirements para ma-break mo yung dormancy? Maaring may mga specific seed treatments dyan. For example, yung tinatawag nating scarification, stratification, or exposure to light. Maaring itong mga treatments na to could initiate germination sa ating halaman. Ano naman ang seed quiescence? So sa seed quiescence, ang pagkakaiba ng seed dormancy, internal yung problema, whereas sa seed quiescence naman, external yung problema. Ibig sabihin, the environment is not favorable for the seed to germinate. So maaaring there is lack of water, there is lack of oxygen, or there is unsuitable na temperature. So yun yung differences between seed dormancy and seed quiescence. Pag sinabi nating dormant yung seed, the problem is internal to the seed. Yung external environment niya, okay na okay. Whereas when we say naman seed quiescence, ang problem dito is yung external environment. Yung kanyang maaring lack of water, lack of sunlight, lack of oxygen. So these are the differences. This is the difference between dormant and quiescent seeds. Now, after germination phase comes now, of course, our vegetative phase. So sa vegetative growth phase, dyan na nade-develop yung mga vegetative parts of the plants, including the leaves, the stems, and the roots, which are very essential for photosynthesis and for the acquisition of nutrients. So during the vegetative phase, ang dominant growth ng ating halaman is focused on its photosynthetic apparatus. Ano ba yung mga parts ng halaman that allows the plant to photosynthesize? Primarily, yung leaves. So nakafocus na dyan yung development of leaves, development of stems, and development of roots. Isa pa another characteristic of the vegetative growth phase would be your biomass accumulation. Kung saan yung mga carbohydrates through the process of photosynthesis will now be stored in the stems and leaves, providing resources for the subsequent stages of the plant, such as reproductive and senescence phase. Now, after vegetative phase, ang susunod naman dyan, of course, is yung reproductive phase ng ating halaman. So dito, ang mga na-form na organs would be the plant's reproductive structures, katulad ng flowers and katulad ng fruits. Now, during the reproductive phase as well, flowers are being developed kasi very important yan for pollination and fertilization. During the reproductive phase, instead na yung mga energy ay ma-store sa dahon, sa stem, and sa roots, ang energy and other minerals, nutrients, and water will now be refocused to the reproductive parts of the plants, such as your flowers and your fruits. Right after the reproductive phase comes now your maturation phase. And dito, nagkakaroon na ng physiological maturity, and for most of our agricultural plants, ito na yung time kung saan ready na, pwede na tayong mag-harvest. Ano yung mga key indicators na mature na yung ating halaman? For some, it can be changes in color. Changes in color. For example, yung pagiging yellow ng rice panicles. Ito ay isang hudyat na pwede nang i-harvest yung ating halaman. Another one would be reduced moisture, and another one would be the hardening of seeds or fruits. So yan yung mga parang indicators, let's say indicators na mature na yung halaman and pwede na siyang i-harvest. So yan yung mga physiological phases na pagdadaanan ng almost lahat ng ating agricultural crops. Mostly, kapag yan ay galing sa buto, nagsisimula yan through germination. After germination would be the vegetative phase. After the vegetative phase would be the reproductive phase, and finally, the maturation phase. After all of our talks sa physiological phases, let us now talk ano ba yung mga very important physiological processes that plants undergo. Na mostly, napakahalaga niyan when it comes to the plant's growth and development. Unang-una dyan, of course, yung photosynthesis. Right? Photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a biochemical process kung saan yung ating halaman, they convert light energy into uh, chemical energy and stored glucose or carbohydrates. Kung titignan natin, photosynthesis is actually the foundation of life on Earth. Kasi ito yung nagpo-provide talaga ng energy for nearly all organisms, either directly, katulad ng mga halaman, or indirectly, through food chains. So, kung tayo, for example, we are heterotrophs, kumakain tayo ng halaman for the purpose of absorbing yung glucose or carbohydrates na ginawa ng halaman para sa kanya. So, kung tutusin, halaman talaga yung nagbibigay sa atin ng pagkain. Okay? Kahit na meron tayong meat products, may mga poultry products natin, lahat ng mga glucose na yan all comes from the glucose stored and produced in our plants, by our plants. Ano yung equation natin for photosynthesis? If we can see, the equation for photosynthesis is quite simple. Yung carbon dioxide and water plus light energy by the help of the chlorophyll, ito yung apat na major components that allows the plant to produce carbohydrates, and at the same time nagpo-produce siya ng byproduct na oxygen na ginagamit rin basically ng mga tao, ng mga hayop para sila ay makahinga. Okay? So ang input dito is the carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight, and then dadaan yan sa chlorophyll, and kasama dyan yung chlorophyll ng halaman para makapag-produce ng glucose and oxygen. And photosynthesis, primarily yung ating C3 photosynthesis, the most common form of photosynthesis, has two stages. Meron tayong tinatawag na light-dependent reaction or light-dependent stage, kung saan dito kailangan ng halaman ng light in order to process these molecules, in order to process these ingredients, sabihin na natin. And meron naman tayong tinatawag na light-independent reaction or light-independent phase, or we also call this as the Calvin cycle. So ano yung nangyayari sa light-dependent reaction? Ang light-dependent reaction, nangyayari yan sa thylakoid membrane ng ating halaman. Light energy is being captured by the chlorophyll pigment. So si chlorophyll yung nagka-capture niyan. Okay? And the light energy is used to split water molecules into oxygen, protons and electrons, yung tinatawag nating photolysis, producing now ATP and NADPH. Yan yung magiging energy carriers na gagamitin to produce the glucose. Now, in the light-independent reaction, itong ATP na to, at saka itong NADPH na to, they are used now to fix carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide will now produce yung sugar or yung glucose or yung carbohydrate na ginagamit ng ating halaman. What are the different factors affecting photosynthesis, by the way? So isa sa mga factor that affects photosynthesis would be your light. So kapag mas mataas yung light, it increases the rate of photosynthesis. Kaya mahalaga na yung mga halaman natin, lalo na yung kapag yung halaman mo it actually requires sun, yung mga outdoor crops natin, mahalaga na nakakakuha sila ng enough light. Mahalaga na hindi sila nasishadan. Kumbaga, hindi ganun ka-dense yung ating taniman para lahat sila ay nakakasagap ng light kasi ginagamit nila yon for photosynthesis. Mahalaga rin yung carbon dioxide concentration kasi yung carbon dioxide concentration na ito, yung carbon dioxide is an important ingredient ng glucose or sugar na pinuproduce ng halaman. Another important factor would be temperature. Each plant has an optimal temperature range. Kaya kapag excessive yung heat, maaari na masira yung proseso ng photosynthesis ng halaman. And of course, another key ingredient ng photosynthesis would be water. Kaya kapag may drought, usually hindi nagpo-push through ang photosynthesis kasi nagko-close yung stomata. Eh kapag nag-close yung stomata, dahil nga wala masyadong tubig, na-restrict rin yung pagpasok ng carbon dioxide. Remember, carbon dioxide is one of the crucial ingredient na kailangan ng halaman in order to produce their food or in order to produce sugar or glucose or carbohydrate. Another important physiological processes that plants undergo is what we call as respiration. Now, kanina sa photosynthesis, ang photosynthesis is mainly the production of glucose, the production of sugar, the production of carbohydrates, but not necessarily energy. Ano yung process that transforms the glucose into energy? Yan po yung process ng respiration. So, respiration is the process by which yung ating mga plants, they break down the glucose in order to release energy in the form of ATP. And itong energy na to is essential for cellular activities katulad ng nutrient uptake, growth, and repair. There are two types of respiration, by the way. We have aerobic respiration and we have anaerobic respiration. Now, kapag sinabi mo na yung respiration is aerobic, this occurs in the presence of oxygen. So, ang aerobic respiration nangyayari yan dahil may oxygen. By the word aerobic, there is oxygen involved there. So, ano yung equation ng ating aerobic respiration? Yung carbohydrate, through the presence of enzymes, the plant now will produce energy or ATP. Okay? Again, sa aerobic respiration, nangangailangan tayo ng oxygen. Ang opposite ng aerobic respiration is what we call as anaerobic respiration. Dito naman sa anaerobic respiration, kahit absent ang oxygen. This is less efficient. By the way, ang aerobic respiration, efficient yan kasi nagpuproduce yan ng majority or not majority. Pinoproduce niya halos lahat ng ATP na kailangan ng halaman. So around 36 to 38 ATP or energy yung pinoproduce ng aerobic respiration. Whereas sa anaerobic respiration naman, it occurs in the absence of oxygen pero less efficient siya kasi nagpuproduce lang yan ng 2 ATP per glucose molecule. Now, let's dive deeper kung paano ba talaga nangyayari yung cellular respiration. Because I want to illustrate sa inyo yung process para mas maintindihan natin. So, in this diagram, this diagram provides an overview of cellular respiration. And ano yung step 1? Step 1 is glycolysis. So, ang glycolysis, nangyayari yan sa cytoplasm ng ating cell. So, what happens here? Yung glucose na galing sa photosynthesis is broken down into 2 molecules of pyruvate. Now, this process occurs in the cytoplasm and hindi kailangan ng oxygen sa process na to. So, this is anaerobic. So, kapag yung glucose naging pyruvate, nagkakaroon tayo ng net gain of 2 ATP. 2 ATP lang. Yan. Okay? Now, after glycolysis, the next stage would be the preparatory reaction. So, anong nangyayari during this phase? Acetyl-CoA is being formed during this time. So, ito, nangyayari na siya sa ano na yung powerhouse of the cell? Sa mitochondria ng halaman. So, the pyruvate produced in glycolysis is transported now in the mitochondria. Ngayon, yung pyruvate na yan, it is converted in acetyl-CoA and carbon dioxide. So kung mapapansin nyo, may byproduct na carbon dioxide dyan. So yung acetyl-CoA natin, yan yung parang entry ticket para doon sa next phase, which is the citric acid cycle, or we also call this as your Krebs cycle. So ang Krebs cycle, again, nangyayari pa rin yan sa loob ng mitochondria. Yung acetyl-CoA enters into a series of chemical reaction and nagre-release ulit siya ng carbon dioxide. Okay, nagre-release ulit ng carbon dioxide dyan as a waste product, but it generates more energy carriers. Nagge-generate siya ng NADH and FADH2. Now, during the citric acid cycle, nagkakaroon ulit tayo ng additional 2 ATP. Now, after the citric acid cycle, comes now yung pinaka-final step sa cellular respiration. We call this now as the electron transport chain. Ang electron transport chain, nangyayari yan sa inner membrane of the plant cells mitochondria. So what happens here? Itong NADH and FADH2, nagdo-donate siya ng electrons to the electron transport chain. Yan. Now, these electrons moves through a series of proteins, creating now a flow of energy that pumps now protons across the membrane. Now, yung energy na to is used to produce a large amount of ATP. So, kapag si NADH and FADH2 through the pumping of protons across the membrane, nagpo-produce through the electron transport chain ng malaking units of ATP, around 32 to 34 ATP molecules. And during this time, kailangan na ng oxygen. Oxygen is the final electron acceptor combining with electrons and protons to form water. Yun na yung magiging parang byproduct during the electron transport chain. So kung mapapansin nyo, ilang ATP, units of ATP yung na-produce? We have 2 here, 4, and then around 32 to 34 here. So that would be 32 plus 4 is 36 to 38 ATP yung napuproduce sa buong cellular respiration process. What are the factors affecting respiration naman? Unang-una, temperature. Kapag mas mataas ang temperature natin, the rate of respiration is also increasing. So higher temperature increases the rate of cellular respiration up until to a certain threshold, of course. Very important dahil aerobic yung nakakapag-provide ng mataas na bilang ng ATP, of course, oxygen availability is important, right? So kapag walang oxygen, basically, lalo na kapag waterlogged yung ating soil, it could impede cellular respiration. And finally, glucose affects respiration. Why? Kasi ang glucose, dyan nanggagaling yung ATP. So kapag walang na-produce na glucose yung ating halaman, more or less expect mo, wala ring ATP, walang energy rin na magagamit yung halaman para sa kanyang mga different processes. Another important processes that plants undergo would be transpiration. What is transpiration? It is the loss of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plants primarily through stomata. So, madalas kasi ang tubig na nasa halaman quote-unquote nag-e-evaporate yan through the plant's stomata. Although meron tayong 3 types of transpiration. Pwedeng lumabas ang tubig sa halaman through stomata, through the leaves stomata. We call that stomatal transpiration. Pwedeng lumabas naman ang tubig through the cuticles of the plant, through the waxy cuticle of the leaves. We call that cuticular transpiration. And finally, for some plants, meron tayong tinatawag na lenticular transpiration through the lenticels na nandun sa stem ng ating halaman. So how does the transpiration process occurs? So kunwari, this diagram illustrates the process of transpiration. So unang-una, yung ating roots, yan, mag-absorb po yan ng tubig na galing sa soil. Now, the water here is being transported through the stem. So, ano ang nagta-transport ng tubig na galing sa roots papunta sa stems and the leaves of the plant? Is it the xylem or the phloem? Ang sagot, it is the xylem. Okay? So, yung xylem ng stem, dyan na draw up. Dyan dumadaan yung tubig na galing sa roots. And finally, nagkakaroon ng water loss. So, water loss through the leaves, primarily sa stomata. We call that as stomatal transpiration. Some water would be lost from the leaf's waxy cuticle. And ang tawag mo naman doon, cuticular transpiration. Paano naman kapag doon sa lenticels ng ating stem, we call that as, ano nang tawag doon? Lenticular transpiration. Yan. So what are the factors affecting transpiration? Of course, light. Kapag mataas ang light, ang stomatal opening tumataas rin. So kapag tumaas ang pagbukas ng stomata ng ating halaman, na-enhance ang transpiration. Another one would be temperature. So kapag mas mataas ang temperature, nag-i-increase din yung rate of evaporation, thereby increasing as well the rate of transpiration. Humidity also affects transpiration. Kapag mababa ang humidity, mababa ang moisture sa hangin, it creates a steeper vapor pressure gradient. So kapag mababa ang humidity, nag-i-increase din ang transpiration. Wind also affects transpiration. Kasi kapag kasi wind removes water vapor around the leaf surfaces. So kapag medyo mahangin din yung lugar, transpiration tends to increase as well. And finally, soil water availability. Kapag wala masyadong tubig yung ating halaman, rate of transpiration actually decreases. Kasi nga, walang tubig. The stomata will close. Kasi ang goal ng stomata, i-preserve yung tubig na nandun sa halaman. So, kapag may drought, wala masyadong tubig, the rate of transpiration decreases. Let us now move forward to the second section of this topic, which is yield determination and components. Now, crop yield is the culmination of the physiological phases. So bakit tayo may mga physiological phases like photosynthesis, respiration, and transpiration? All comes from the, nangyayari itong mga phases na to because we want our crops to yield, to produce. So every phase plays a critical role in shaping the final yield as each phases contributes specific resources or structures required for optimal production. Kaya mahalaga na maintindihan natin ito, how these phases, how these processes influences yield components. As agriculturists, this is very, very important. So, iniintindi natin yung mga physiological process na to para maintindihan din natin yung magiging, ma-forecast, let's say, yung magiging yield din ng ating halaman. So one important concept in yield determination and components would be your source-sink relationship. Source-sink relationship is a cornerstone, isa yung napakahalagang konsepto ng yield determination. Why? Kasi it connects two things. It connects yung photosynthetic capacity of the plant, so that is the source, and yung storage and growth structures, that is the sink. So sinasabi dito, may relationship, there is a relationship between photosynthesis and how the plants will store and grow its structure. So we want to ensure na strong yung ating source-sink relationship. Kasi kapag strong yung source-sink relationship, ibig sabihin yan, yung mga carbohydrates that is being produced in the photosynthesis phase of the plant will yield to good storage of that particular carbohydrate, and at the same time, it will yield to growth in our plants. So para maintindihan natin, I would like to show this diagram sa inyo. So this image depicts the source love-sink relationship in plants, kung saan specific plant organs act as sources or sinks depending on their role in energy production, storage, and utilization. So kung mapapansin nyo, meron tayo ditong label na sources. So what are the sources? Sources are plant organs that produce or store carbohydrates and export them to other parts of the plant. So dito sa image na to, yung ating sources would be the mature leaves of our plant. Kasi sila naman talaga yung involved sa photosynthetic process. Sila yung involved sa photosynthesis. Now, yung glucose, yung carbohydrates na napuproduce through the sources, which are the leaves, ipapasa yan sa different sinks ng ating halaman through the process of translocation. So magmo-move yung mga glucose na yan to other parts of the plant we term as the sinks. And when we say sinks, ito yung plant organs that consume or store carbohydrates for growth, development, or storage. Kung mapapansin nyo, parang nahati sa dalawa yung sink dyan. So sink, dito yung flowers, yung young leaves, and yung lateral meristems. Kasi kung ano yung na-produce na carbohydrates, through photosynthesis, through the process of translocation, maipapasa yung carbohydrates na yan sa flowers, sa young leaves, and sa lateral meristems. At the same time, sink din po yung ating vascular tissues, the xylem and the phloem, and the roots. Okay? So sink din yung mga yan. Kasi they also consume carbohydrates to fuel growth and nutrient absorption. The arrow here shows the process of translocation, by the way. So sa madaling salita, if we're going to summarize itong diagram na to, the sources will be your leaves. Your leaves will produce the glucose, the carbohydrate needed for the sink. And sino-sino yung mga sink? Flowers, young leaves, lateral meristems, and the roots. Saan dumadaan? Sa mga vascular tissues. Doon nangyayari yung process of translocation. And finally, ano ba yung nagiging basehan natin when it comes to yield? Di ba? Yung mga farmer natin, gusto nila ng mataas na yield. Pero ang tanong, ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng yield? Now, yield could be categorized into three definitions. Pwedeng yield, pwede mong i-measure yung yield ng isang halaman through the number of reproductive units. For example, sa rice, yung number of spikelet per panicle, you can measure yield in that. So, gaano ba karami yung spikelet per panicle doon sa tanim natin na rice? That could be a definition of yield. Another one, aside from the number of reproductive units or the number of spikelets, ano yung size of spikelet? Kasi kahit na napakadaming spikelet niyan, napakadami kang na-produce na spikelet or reproductive units, kung maliliit lang naman, more than likely, mababa lang din yung yield niya. So we want to ensure na bukod sa marami yung number of reproductive units or marami yung number of spikelets when we're talking about rice, gusto natin malalaki rin sila. And finally, ito yung madalas na ginagamit ng farmers, yung weight and quality of units. So we want to ensure na bukod sa malaki, dapat mabigat at may laman. Kasi maaari na mayroon kang spikelet pero na malaki, pero sa loob wala namang laman. So hindi rin siya mapapakinabangan. So these are the three definitions, the three definitions that we used in measuring the yield of plants.